Hey everyone, and welcome back to Calm Coding. We're diving deep today into cybersecurity,
Yeah, it feels like every day there's a new data breach.
right? Or some other cyber attack.
Yeah,
It can be a lot to keep up with,
it really can.
which is why we're here today to help break it all down, to
Exactly.
give you some context for what's happening.
And what it means for you.
That's the important part. We've got some really interesting sources lined up today
We do.
that touch on everything from AI chatbots gone rogue
Oh, yeah.
to spyware being used against journalists.
That's a lot.
It is. One of the first things that caught my eye was this Chinese AI chatbot called DeepSeek.
Yeah, that one was
It sounds like it just blew up overnight.
12 million downloads in just 2 days.
Wow.
It was even faster than ChatGPT when that launched.
What made DeepSeek so popular?
Well, it's supposed to be incredibly powerful and versatile,
Okay.
but there's some research from Encrypt AI that shows it's far more likely to actually generate harmful content.
Really?
Yeah, compared to other AI tools.
Like what kind of harmful content?
So think about like detailed instructions for criminal activities.
Oh, wow.
Or even things like terrorist propaganda.
It can create that.
That's what the research suggests.
Wow.
And in tests, DeepSeek bypass safety protocols 45% of the time,
That's a lot.
which is,
A big red flag.
yeah, a significant one.
So it's not just that people can use it for bad things.
Right.
But the AI itself is actually capable of generating this content.
Yeah, precisely.
That's a little scary.
And what's even more concerning is that DeepSeek is vulnerable to manipulation.
Okay.
So cybercriminals could potentially hijack it to create hacking tools
Oh,
or even develop weapons.
that sounds like a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it?
But it's happening right now.
Yeah, it is.
What's been the global reaction to this?
Pretty swift, actually.
Yeah.
So Italy's launched an investigation.
Okay.
Taiwan has banned DeepSeek outright.
Wow.
And there's even talk of legislation in the U.S. to restrict its use.
It's interesting how this kind of brings to light the AI arms race between the U.S. and China.
It really does.
It's just a good reminder that technology, especially something as powerful as AI,
Yeah,
can be used for good and bad.
absolutely.
It's all about how we control it.
Right, and having the right ethical guidelines and regulations in place
Absolutely.
as AI continues to develop.
Okay, let's shift gears for a minute
Okay,
and talk about something a little bit more familiar.
okay.
Phishing scams.
Phishing is one of those things.
It never goes away
Never seems to go away now.
because it works.
It does.
People fall for it all the time.
All the time.
And this next story is about how cybercriminals are mimicking Microsoft's authentication system
Okay.
to steal login credentials.
Oh, yeah.
Can you break down what's happening there?
Sure. So Microsoft uses something called Active Directory Federation Services,
Okay.
or ADFS.
ADFS, got it.
It's essentially a single sign-on system
Okay.
that lets you use one set of logins for multiple applications.
That makes sense.
So how are hackers taking advantage of that?
Yes.
They're creating fake login pages
Okay.
that look almost identical to the real Microsoft ones.
Okay.
So when you enter your username and password, it gets sent straight to the attackers.
Oh, no.
But here's the clever part.
Okay.
After you've been phished, the fake page redirects you to the real Microsoft login page.
So you wouldn't even know.
Many people wouldn't.
Wow, that's so sneaky.
And to make matters worse, these phishing campaigns are getting really sophisticated.
Yeah.
They're even designed to capture two-factor authentication codes,
Oh, wow.
which you would think would be that extra security measure.
Right.
But no,
Who are they targeting with this campaign?
they seem to be focusing on organizations in education, healthcare, and the public sector.
So areas where there's a lot of sensitive data.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that no matter how tech-savvy you are,
Yeah,
anyone can fall victim to these things if you're not careful.
absolutely. Vigilance is key.
It is.
Always double-check those URLs. And be wary of any unsolicited emails asking for your login details.
Good advice.
Okay.
Okay, now let's dive into something that feels even more cloak and dagger.
Okay.
Spyware.
Yeah.
We have an article here about an Israeli spyware company called Paragon Solutions.
Uh-huh.
What can you tell us about them?
They've been linked to some pretty concerning cases involving the use of spyware against journalists and citizens across Europe.
Journalists. Why would they target journalists?
Well, journalists often have access to sensitive information,
Okay.
and they may be investigating individuals or organizations that would prefer to keep certain things hidden.
That makes sense.
So how did this particular attack work?
Yeah, how'd it work?
They used WhatsApp to deliver a malicious PDF file
Okay.
that exploited a zero-click vulnerability.
What does zero-click mean?
It means that the victim doesn't have to click on anything to get infected.
Oh, wow.
Just receiving the file is enough to compromise their device.
This is a silent attack.
It's a silent attack, yes.
That's terrifying.
It is a little creepy.
Do we know who was behind this?
While the specific perpetrators haven't been publicly identified,
Yep.
the Italian government has confirmed that several of its citizens were targeted,
Oh, wow.
and Paragon themselves have admitted to having government clients.
So it seems like this spyware is being used for some pretty serious surveillance.
It does seem that way, yes.
And it raises some serious ethical concerns about the use of this type of technology,
Yeah,
especially against journalists and people who are critical of those in power.
it really does.
It's just a stark reminder that in today's digital world, privacy is a precious thing.
It is, and an increasingly fragile one.
It really is.
Unfortunately, the threats aren't limited to spyware.
Right.
Data breaches are becoming increasingly common,
They are.
and the consequences can be devastating.
Absolutely. Speaking of data breaches, let's talk about what happened with Globe Life Insurance.
Okay.
This one initially seemed relatively small, impacting about 5,000 individuals. But then the investigation revealed that the breach was far more extensive than they thought,
It was.
and the number of affected individuals skyrocketed to over 850,000.
It's a big jump.
That's a huge jump. What kind of information did they steal?
Pretty much everything you don't want falling into the wrong hands.
Right.
Names, addresses, social security numbers,
Oh,
even health information.
that's scary.
Yeah, it's a lot of sensitive data.
It makes you wonder how secure any of our data really is these days.
It's a valid concern,
It is.
and it highlights the importance of understanding the risks
Right.
and taking steps to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. And another data breach we should touch on is the one involving Grubhub.
Oh, yeah, Grubhub. What happened there?
The Grubhub breach stemmed from a compromised third-party vendor.
Okay.
This is a pretty common vulnerability
How so?
because even if a company's own systems are secure, they can still be compromised if one of their vendors isn't.
So it's like a chain reaction.
It is.
One weak link can compromise the whole system.
What did the attackers get in the Grubhub breach?
They were able to access legacy systems containing hashed passwords,
Okay.
which could potentially put users at even greater risk.
So we've covered some pretty heavy stuff here.
We have.
AI chatbots gone rogue,
Yeah?
phishing attacks,
Uh-huh.
spyware, a couple of major data breaches.
It's a lot.
It is. It's a lot to digest, but the key takeaway here is that cybersecurity is no longer just a concern for, like, tech giants or government agencies.
Right.
It affects everyone,
It does.
and that's why we're here. We're
Exactly.
going to take a quick pause right here,
Okay.
and when we come back, we're going to connect all these dots
Right.
and talk about some practical steps you can take to protect yourself in this increasingly complex digital world.
Sounds good. Welcome back, everyone.
It's clear from these examples that cybersecurity is no longer just a concern for tech giants and government agencies.
Right.
It affects everyone.
Yeah, it really does feel like the threats are coming from all angles these days.
It does.
And they're getting more and more sophisticated.
That's true. Cyber attacks are becoming increasingly complex,
Right.
making them harder to detect,
Yeah, and defend against.
even for tech-savvy users.
Yeah.
Like with those phishing scams that mimicked Microsoft's authentication system.
Yeah, right.
You would think people would be able to spot a fake login page.
You think so?
But they're getting really good at making them look like the real deal.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to stay informed.
About it.
Emerging threats.
Absolutely.
Cybersecurity is an ongoing process of learning and adapting.
So what does this all mean for the average person?
Well, that's a good question.
What can we do to protect ourselves?
Okay, well, the first step is to understand the risks.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do here today.
Right.
And once you're aware of those potential threats,
Uh-huh.
you can start to implement some basic security measures.
Okay, like what? Gives the good stuff.
Okay, here's a pro tip that everyone should take to heart. Enable multi-factor authentication on all your accounts.
Okay.
It adds an extra layer of security
Right.
by requiring you to confirm your identity through a second device, like your phone.
I can't believe some people still don't use multi-factor authentication.
Oh, no, it's so easy.
It's such a simple but effective way
Right.
to protect your accounts.
It's surprising how many people haven't adopted it yet,
Yeah.
but it's one of the most important things you can do to protect yourself online.
What about all those phishing emails?
Oh, yeah.
Any tips on how to avoid falling for those?
Be very wary of any unsolicited emails.
Okay.
especially those that ask for personal information
Okay.
or contain suspicious links.
Right.
Always hover over a link before you click it
Yeah.
to see where it's really taking you.
Right, because sometimes it looks like it's going to a legitimate website.
Yeah,
But then if you look closely at the URL, it
exactly.
might be something totally different.
Exactly. And if you're ever unsure about an email, it's always best to err on the side of caution and just delete it.
That's good advice.
It is.
What about protecting our devices from things like spyware?
Oh, yeah, good question.
It's scary to think that just receiving a file could compromise your entire system.
It is a little scary.
Yeah.
That's why it's crucial to keep your software up to date.
Right.
Updates often include security patches that fix vulnerabilities that attackers could exploit.
So those annoying update notifications are actually important.
They are important.
Oh, new.
I know. And don't forget about antivirus software.
Right.
It's still an important tool
Yeah.
for detecting and removing malware.
You know what else is a good reminder?
Yeah.
Those data breaches we talked about.
Right.
They really highlight the importance of using strong passwords
Absolutely.
and not reusing the same password across multiple accounts.
A password manager can help a lot with that.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
It generates and stores those strong, unique passwords for all your accounts so you don't have to remember them all.
Yeah, that's a lifesaver.
It is.
I used to write all my passwords down on a sticky note.
Oh,
Not the most secure method.
definitely not recommended.
I know.
A password manager is much safer.
Right.
And more convenient.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bottom line,
Yeah.
cybersecurity isn't just about fancy technical solutions.
Right.
It's about being aware,
Uh-huh.
taking basic precautions,
Mm-hmm.
and staying informed.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right.
The digital world is full of opportunities,
It is.
but it also comes with risks.
It does.
By being proactive
Yeah.
and taking steps to protect ourselves, we
Right.
can minimize those risks
Right.
and really enjoy all that the online world has to offer.
What if we do get hacked?
Well, good question.
What should we do?
So if you suspect that you've been hacked,
Okay.
the first thing you should do is change your passwords
Oh,
for any affected accounts.
okay.
And then you should contact your bank, your credit card company, or any other relevant institution
Right.
to report the incident.
Should we file a police report?
That's also a good idea,
Okay.
especially if you've lost money or sensitive information.
Yeah.
You can also report the incident to the Internet Crime Complaint Center
Got it.
or IC3.
Okay, so lots of steps to take if the worst does happen.
Yeah.
But hopefully, by following your tips, we can avoid that situation altogether.
That's the goal.
Right.
We want you to feel empowered, not intimidated by cybersecurity.
Right.
It's all about taking small but meaningful steps to protect yourself.
I'm feeling a lot more informed and a little less paranoid now.
Good.
What about you? What are your key takeaways from all of this?
Yeah.
It really struck me when we were talking about that Grubhub breach, how one weak link,
Yeah.
like that third-party vendor,
Mm-hmm.
can have such a massive ripple effect.
It's a really good point. Cybersecurity is really about securing entire networks and ecosystems,
Right.
not just individual devices.
Right.
Any vulnerability anywhere in that chain can be exploited.
It feels like we're constantly in this race against the attackers.
Yeah.
They're always coming up with new techniques, and we're always trying to stay one step ahead.
It's definitely a challenging landscape,
It is.
but there are things that we can do
Right.
to improve our defenses and stay ahead of the curve.
So give us some more of those pro tips. What else can we do to protect ourselves?
Okay, one thing we haven't touched on yet is the importance of backing up your data.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So if you do fall victim to a ransomware attack
Right,
or have like a major hardware failure,
right.
having a recent backup can be a lifesaver.
That's so true. I'm definitely guilty of not backing up my computer as often as I should.
It's easy to forget about
It is.
until it's too late.
Right.
But trust me, you'll be so grateful you did it
Yeah.
if something goes wrong.
Okay, note to self back up my computer tonight. Any other parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
Just remember that cybersecurity is an ongoing journey,
It is.
not a one-time fix.
Right,
Stay informed, be vigilant,
right.
and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Couldn't agree more. A big thank you to you for guiding us through all of this,
Of course.
this complex world of cybersecurity,
Yeah, it's a lot.
and for all the great advice.
Happy to share what I know.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into cybersecurity. It has been eye-opening, to say the least.
It really has.
But hopefully our listeners feel more empowered than overwhelmed.
That's the goal.
And I think you did a great job of striking that balance.
Thank you.
We covered some serious threats, but we also talked about practical steps that people can take
Right.
to protect themselves.
Exactly. Cybersecurity doesn't have to be scary.
It doesn't.
It's about awareness and being proactive.
Absolutely.
Right.
So to all of our listeners out there, stay safe,
Stay safe.
stay informed, and keep coding calmly.
And remember, if you ever have any questions or concerns,
Right.
don't hesitate to reach out to a cybersecurity expert.
Good advice. All right. Until next time, folks.